Hi guys, it's Sandal from Substance Over Style. I'm still holding on to that title. I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, it's been a minute. Obviously, I took a little bit of time off while traveling, getting settled here in London. So yeah, just a quick housekeeping. I'll leave most of the housekeeping to the end, but quick housekeeping. I'm not going to be keeping up with the weekly posting schedule. You'll notice I haven't been anyway while I'm in London. But I will come on here because I'm not going to be here for long. I think I'm only going to be here for like 1 more month and then I'm going back to Mexico. But if I have something that I want to talk about, then I will jump on. I've got too many things to sort out while I'm here, and I need to just focus on modeling and my one-on-one clients. You know, I'm obviously still available for sessions. I'll do housekeeping on sessions at the end. But today I wanted to talk about what I am noticing is happening in the collective through, just field work, and mainly, I had a dream that was like extremely symbolic. So I kind of wanted to talk about what's happening, particularly with the masculines at the moment, but it might not just be exclusive to the men in your life or the men in the collective, but also your own internal masculine might also be experiencing some of this stuff. I just want to move this a little bit. Obviously we've got the train here, we're going to try and work around it, and I got my juicy juice. I'm just doing like a 3-day juice cleanse, so just to try and lose some weight. Like, I just feel like I put on so much weight since I moved to the beach. I wasn't really walking as much in Mexico City, and and then definitely not, walking a little bit here, but like in Mexico City I was walking loads, like every day, and like walking is amazing because it gets your lymphatic system moving, so your body just detoxes everything through your lymphatic system. So yeah, if I'm not really doing that regularly and I'm not moving my body, I tend to hold on to like water weight, and I just feel like a stagnant and puffy. So I just thought I'd do like a 3-day juice cleanse. So what has this got in it? It's got let me think: celery, carrot, turmeric, fresh turmeric. Actually, I should stop saying it the American way. Turmeric, ginger, and some apple and orange as well, because obviously I'm not eating food for the next 2-3 days. I'm just having the juice, so you want to have some fruit in there as well. So let's get into it. So what's been happening? Okay, so I had a dream. This was like maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. There's other things that I'm noticing in the field as well, but this was particularly profound, and I think that this is particularly relevant. I had a dream that there were various men, I think there were like 1 or 2. It wasn't like loads. Train is coming. Hold on 1 sec. Buttercups, aren't they pretty? So anyway, so there was, I think it was like 2, 3, it wasn't clear exactly how many, but I got the impression that it was like a succession of men. So one after the other would like get close to me and would sleep in my bed with me and then would leave, and then another one would come, sleep in my bed with me, and then would leave. And so this happened 2 or 3 times, and these are all men that I know in my real life. One of them is not somebody that I know very well. So with these dreams, it's basically, what does that person mean to you? So I'll go into what that person represents to me, or what the people represent to me. One of them was a guy that I met at a recent house party. I actually don't even remember his name, but I remember the impression that he made on me and how he made me feel. And then the other one is actually a former ex of mine. It wasn't like a serious relationship or something, but he's been going through an awakening the last few years as well, similar to what I've been going through. And we still maintain contact, but there's no romantic inclination between us. So what the bed sharing basically represents, the sun is so nice. So bed sharing generally tends to represent like an alignment, or like a sharing of energy or merging of frequencies. yeah, some kind of, alignment. It can be, I've had bed sharing dreams before where they felt like a encroachment on boundaries, but if you're having a dream about bed sharing, you have to tune into how you felt in the dream. So, before I felt like, somebody's trying to get too close to me and I'm uncomfortable. That's like somebody's trying to like latch into your energy. They're trying to siphon something from you. They're trying to get something from you, or they're trying to encroach on your boundaries. But this didn't feel like that. This felt more like, it just felt like deeply safe and comfortable and very not romantic. It wasn't romantic or sexual. It was more like reverent. It was deep. It was that, felt it here basically in the thymus gland. So those of you who are on a Hieros Gamos path, on a path of inner alchemy of your masculine and feminine energies, if you've done the Christ Sophia merge in the thymus gland, then you'll notice that feeling. It's reverent. It's like a reverent frequency. If you haven't experienced it and you're curious about it, then send me a DM on Instagram and we can kind of talk about possibly working one-on-one together, because this is something that I do with my clients. We really heal this area, because this is your union template. This is where your masculine and your feminine energy start to merge in holy, sacred, ecstatic union. So this is the frequency of the divine child, that both the masculine and the feminine Christ in sacred union. So that frequency, it's so necessary for when you come into divine union with a partner in a romantic relationship, to have this balanced and healed. Not saying that you can't meet your person before that happens, because I met my person before this was fully healed, but I had to do a lot of work around distortions and implants in the higher heart, in order to deepen the relationship and for the relationship to really start to feel a lot safer. So they kept on leaving, and I was just like, oh, where are they going? I feel so sad. And I went downstairs and I saw a man sleeping on the sofa. And so I was just like, oh, this must be one of them. So I literally, this was so powerful and so poignant. I sat down and I knelt down in front of him, like at his feet. And like, he's sleeping on the sofa. And then he literally like took my chin in his hands. And he took my chin in his hands and called me like my child. He was like, what is it, my child? And I felt like this incredible, like divine masculine, like Holy Father, Christ masculine, like frequency. It was that frequency of the divine that feels like the Holy Father. It was just benevolent, it was protective, it was supportive. Just like that, Holy Father. I don't know what else to call it. But hang on, I'm just looking at my notes, because I did write this down in the morning. I always try and log my dreams in the morning, especially if they're particularly, you have symbols in them, because it really helps you remember them as well. He held my head in his hands and said, my child. And I asked him if he was one of the two men. Who was he? And he said, when the Lord passes him one who needs comfort, he gives it. I turned on the light and I saw an older man with long hair. And I was like basically, I realized my mum came in and she said that she'd let him in, and I was just like, are you a hookup of my mum's? Which is not something that my mum would ever do. Like, this is an extremely she would never do something like that, bring a random guy home. But in the dream she was like, I made a friend on the motorway, and he turned out to be actually the dad of someone I know who's actually in the industry. It's someone in the industry who's also going through a spiritual awakening. So it was, maybe there's a message there for that person. Maybe I should let him know, actually. But it was just interesting because what I saw, she'd met him on the motorway. So what I saw was that there were these men that were on a journey. And then when I tuned into it, I was just like, okay, where are the other men? I saw them and they all had long hair. This is a really interesting thing. One of the guys who I met at this party, he had long hair and a beard. The other one, who is an ex of mine, he also had long hair and he has a little bit of a beard. And I saw them like climbing up a hill on this journey, carrying a cross. Okay, this is where it gets really deep. And I've just felt so sad that they had gone. And in the dream, even though I was myself, oh, fuck's sake. Even though I was myself, I was Sundial in the dream, and it was like my house. I felt like I was like the full feminine collective. Like I felt this deep feminine sadness and longing for the masculine. Like I felt like abandoned, but not in a like a, it wasn't abandonment. It was like I knew that they were being called to something greater, that they were on a hero's journey, essentially. Like it was clear they were carrying the cross, walking up the hill. It's a hero's journey. And yeah, this was basically like the message that I felt very called to share when I woke up. It's like, I have to write this down. This definitely means something. But basically, the men in society right now are going through a lot, especially the ones that are at the forefront of the intervention, are going through a massive Christ awakening at the moment. In particular, I think this is also why I saw those particular men who embodied that masculine frequency, because one of them has been going through a Christ awakening for several years, and out of all the people, I actually know him from the industry, out of all the people I know from the industry, he's like probably one of the most awake, which is probably why we've stayed in contact and in touch. And the other one was just, he was actually a young kid that I met at a party, much younger than me, like at least 10, 15 years younger than me. I think he looked like early 20s or something. And he was listening to a lot of the things that I was saying when it was like at a party of like just very awakened people. Who kind of know what time it is, what the agenda is. And there were a couple of things that I was talking about masculine, feminine dynamics, much like I do on this channel. And he was really sitting with it. Him and one other guy were really sitting with it. They didn't really say much. They asked a few questions. They asked me several questions like, what's the dark feminine? And what's the feminine shadow? And why do women do this? And da-da-da. And so I was sharing, and he was really reflecting on it. And I could see that, these young men, there are a lot of young men who are really, really doing the work. They are really, really doing their best to try and show up for us in the best way possible. And once we start to, and as much as I felt this like sadness and this longing that so much of the feminine collective is feeling for their true divine unions at the moment, because so many people just aren't in that divine union yet, and they haven't found that person yet. And I think that a lot of women tend to have like a scarcity mindset around it. It's, because I'm already in a relationship, my boyfriend is in Mexico at the moment. And, we've been together for like years now. We've had like a really like long history. I mean, it's kind of flown by because the last few years just went by in the blink of like 3 years. It feels like 5 minutes. Because I'm already like my energy is sealed, I'm not available. Like I don't have like an energy that's open for men to connect with me in a way where they can feel that I'm not available. But because I've done work around my masculine integration, they can see the respect and the reverence that I have for men, the masculine, and their journey and their struggles. And so there is this like deep respect. They feel the respect that I have for them, and the fact that I see them. This is so critical for y'all to understand, for the women who are wanting to get into union, for you to really start to embody your own masculine, connect with your own masculine. And yes, there have been many ways in which the masculine has been wounded, and then through his wounds, he's been implanted with various etheric technologies and frequency bandwidths that have caused him, the collective masculine, to behave in really, really unhealthy, toxic ways. But the more that we are able to kind of see his inner little child, his inner little boy, and everything that he's collectively faced on this planet, the more we're able to have forgiveness for that, especially for men who are doing the work and who are trying to do better and who are able to hold themselves accountable for the ways that they've acted out of integrity. And then we can kind of leave that space for them to say, like, I see you, you know, the work that you're doing, I see that you're on this hero's journey, I see that you're trying to do better. And when you see that in him, when you hold him in that higher, you hold that higher vision of, you know, what he can be and you know that it's possible for him to be, then he rises up into it. I've experienced this with my own man, but I experience it with so many men. Like when I talk to men all the time and I tell them like what I see, like for just relationships and divine union, and just what I see of the masculine, and how what I want to see from the masculine and what we as women want to see from the masculine, I can see, you can almost see like their chests will start to puff out, like, and they'll start to like, they'll get like this little Braveheart look as they stare off into the distance. This like warrior energy will start to take hold in their fields. I mean, this is one of the biggest archetypes. Yeah, one of the biggest archetypes that we'll, you know, I'll bring into the field when I'm working with male clients is the warrior, like the true divine warrior, like the, you know, the Order of Melchizedek, the Knights of Camelot, you know, the disciples of Christ, and the true organic frequency of the Knights Templars, you know, clear of any distortions, because obviously those of you who've researched the history of the Knights Templars, there were a lot of, you know, a lot of the stuff got distorted. They were basically protecting the Holy Grail, which is, you know, I believe to be the bloodline of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. That's what my research has shown me so far, but I'm still fully uncovering it. It could be something more than that. It could be even deeper than that. It could be not that at all, okay? I'm still figuring it out, but I believe so far that that's probably what most likely what they were protecting. So they also had the sacred knowledge from the mystery schools. From the mystery schools of, you know, the Egyptian, you know, they burnt the library in Alexandria, and, you know, they had those teachings, and then that obviously became, you know, the lodges of the Freemasons and all of that stuff. So a lot of those lodges still hold those esoteric teachings. Some of them got very corrupted and infiltrated. So there are distortions through that whole Knights Templar. But some of my clients have had past lives as, you know, like some kind of Knight of Camelot, or maybe, I haven't seen Disciples of Christ. I haven't seen that. But not yet anyway. But I've definitely seen Knights of Camelot, I've seen Knights Templars. Actually some women have past lives as knights as well, I've seen that too. And so embodying that warrior energy is really, really important for men at this time. Just that ability to stand up for the truth. The truth. And to defend the sacred. And again, with the Christ awakening, it's like that sacrificial energy, with it, like making sacrifices for the greater good. Obviously, I'm not telling anyone to martyr themselves. It has to be a completely sovereign choice that each individual makes on their own. But sometimes you do feel called to something higher, where you do make certain sacrifices to stand for God and to stand for truth and to stand for the sacred. And that's, I mean, not only is it just like extremely fucking sexy when a man is like that, but it's really, really good for the planet. It's going to be really, really good for society. Like, women cannot carry this burden alone, because, I mean, look at what's happening when women try and carry all of this, trying to change the world. Like when people are like, the future is female and women need to take over now, men have had it. I just don't agree. Like, I think that we need the pendulum's always going to swing the other way, and we are seeing that with a lot of the like wokey, lefty mind virus that's just going way too far in the opposite direction. Obviously, I understand that where the left are coming from, because, you know, historically there have been horrible human rights abuses against, you know, women, against people of color, colonization, massive suppression of, you know, two-spirit, or, you know, people who don't conform to like religiosities, you know, religious perspectives on how, you know, people should express themselves in terms of their gender or sexuality. And you know, a lot of that needs to change, and it is changing. But I do see that the pendulum is swinging the other way, where it's just going, you know, just people are just getting so into like just feeling extremely justified in just bullying, like just mobs attacking people for wrong think or for saying something that they don't agree with. It's just getting fucking crazy out there right now with the culture war. It's going so far left that it needs to be brought back into the center, and people need to be able to have discussions without fucking losing their mind or just screaming hysterically. So yeah, and I'm actually very encouraged to see a lot of men are starting to stand up for truth and are starting to, you know, just stand up for like common sense and align to this kind of frequency that is the middle path, the balancing of both, you know, both the masculine and the feminine. So yeah, that's actually about it. Like there have been other things that have come up in the field as well. I did notice around Mother's Day that there was a lot of, you know, healing of the mother wound and clearing of dark mother, Lilith type of energy, you know, any kind of like, you know, demonic inversions that can happen when you go into very wounded feminine consciousness. And a lot of our mothers did embody that, you know, and it wasn't just our mothers that embodied that, like we also embody it as well sometimes because we inherited it, usually through the feminine bloodline, you know, through the mothers or the grandmothers, you know, because of the way that women will try and control and manipulate. So y'all know I don't actually believe, like, okay, it's not that I don't believe in patriarchy. I do believe that there are, I tend to prefer to call it the reptilian masculine that kind of dominates in a kind of, like a left brain dominant society. But I think that this pendulum is swinging the other way, where it will be more of a right brain dominant society. And I think for those of us that are at the forefront of this, who are like, you know, deep esotericists and study all of this stuff like very deeply to try and find the underlying causal factors to the problems that we face on this planet, it's our mission to kind of be way showers in embodying that frequency of love and truth in action and in holy divine union. So yeah, logic and intellect meets intuition and you know, emotion, all of those, you know, head and heart coming together. Because you know, if you go out of balance towards one, then you get very like left brain dominant, intellectual, trust the science, not your own intuition, and you know, systems, established systems and structures, and you know, appeals to authority. Or we're going the complete other way, which is just, it's all about feelings and emotions, and don't hurt people's feelings, and these people are victims and nobody should be victimized, and you can't say anything that's going to hurt someone's feelings even if it's true. And yeah, it's just, we need to come back into balance. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing happening right now, that the men are kind of on their hero's journey. So I think we're going to start to see men stepping up into their authentic masculine energy. More and more men are going to start embodying that. You know, that's why we've got people like, you know, people like Jordan Peterson, who's so popular. Andrew Tate is so popular because these people are occupying. And you know, I've said previously in previous videos that I actually don't like, I like Jordan Peterson, but I don't like Andrew Tate. Although after seeing, I did just watch the BBC interview that he just did, the exclusive that he just did following his release, and I think he came off very well during that interview actually, and the BBC reporter came off not well at all. Like she just, I didn't like the way that she was talking to him or questioning him. Just very passive aggressive, just not, it just was, you know, she clearly had an agenda. Like, she obviously didn't like him. Fine, okay, that's fine. You don't like him, you don't have an open mind, you clearly have an agenda, whatever. But he doesn't have to necessarily accept that, and I respected him for standing up for himself. I do think that some of the accusations that they have made against him, some of that is I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the details of the case, but I know from what they said in the interview where he was basically using like the lover boy method, which is common when it's a very common method used by human traffickers, where they will go to women in vulnerable communities, often Eastern Europe, and they'll get a young, handsome boy to kind of fall in love with these girls, and then offer them some opportunity to go overseas. Like they'll tell them that it's for like cleaning houses or modeling or working in a restaurant or whatever. And then they'll get on the plane and then the boy will just disappear. Like, I've watched a film called Lilia Forever, strong content warning. It is about sex trafficking. And they do cover it quite graphically, actually, but it's a very, very powerful film that I saw about 20 years ago, actually. And yeah, then they'll just, they use fraud and coercion to lure the girls. Now, I'm not saying that Andrew Tate did that. I don't know that, but he was basically, the BBC interviewer was like, you've basically claimed that you get girls to fall in love with you, and so then they'll do anything that you want to please them, including doing the webcams and making money for you and themselves, obviously. And he denied having said that. And I was just like, well, I've seen videos of him saying that. Like some of his earlier videos, there's video evidence of him saying that. I think Abba and Preach, if you search Abba and Preach, videos on Andrew Tate, there's an actual video of him talking about using that tactic to kind of get girls, to kind of, lure them in. Now, obviously that's not a crime. It's very shady. I think it's not very nice at all. I think he's gross. Like, I think that was a very immoral, unethical thing to do, but it's not criminal. And I think it's a bit unfair for the media to be trying to, like, why are they trying to roast him for that? Because he's committed no crime. It's a bit gross. Obviously they want to take him down because he's so influential, so they're just trying to find anything on him that they can. I think he should denounce his past for doing that. He should make apologies for doing that. But let's not strip women of their agency. I find it very insulting when they strip women of their agency and infantilize us and say that we're not capable of making our own sovereign choices. That, like, if a woman is in love with a man to the point where she'll do anything to please him, that somehow means that she no longer has agency. That's just not true. Like, a woman can make her own decisions, and if you want to say, like, you could flip it the other way, that say that, like, like they talk about simps, like, okay, well, maybe a woman gets a man to fall in love with her and he agrees that it's fine for her to go and do OnlyFans or whatever, or do porn, and he agrees to it, but he's not agreeing off his own free volition. He's just pussy whipped, you know what I mean? He's just so in love with her that he'll just allow her to do whatever. I've seen men like that who have no boundaries. They have no boundaries. I've seen men where their girlfriends would cheat on them, and they'll just continue to allow it and to forgive them again and again and again, like cheat on them in the worst possible ways. I've seen this happen. So you could also say that those men, I mean, that is actually abuse. I think that's abuse, like to cheat on someone, to keep on cheating on someone. I think it's sexual abuse. I mean, I think it is categorized as a form of abuse. So, but I don't know if you could say it's the same thing the other way around. Could you say if the girl wants to do OnlyFans and her boyfriend wants her to do it as well, they've both made a sovereign choice. Like, yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated because a lot of adults make decisions, like allow their partners to do. I see this a lot in like poly space, where there'll be couples and they're poly, and it's quite obvious, even though that they're both consenting to it, that one of them is really not okay with it, even though they're saying that they're okay with it. They're really not. So can you say that that's a boundary violation, or that that's abuse, even though the person is like agreeing to it? It's a complicated one. So yeah, okay. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, interestingly, also when I was in the dream, they were all on the journey and they were helped by women. So this is one thing that my mentor Emily brings up quite often, that Jesus was helped by women. He was housed and taken care of by women when he would, go on his on his like preaching, teaching missions. So I thought that was interesting as well. So it's kind of, I think that there were also some themes around the whole priestess template where, the old archetype of spiritual women will always attract men who need healing. And many of us who have, very healing templates as healers and priestess templates, will have had the experience of getting into relationships with broken men and helping to restore them and, letting them go on their way much better for the next woman. And, as much as, I know that, I've had many conversations with women about this, that, it's a beautiful thing, a service that we're doing to humanity and to the masculine. It's also just a way of you rationalizing your own self-abuse. So personally, I don't think that that's something that we should be doing anymore. You can if you want to, but you don't have to be in relationship. You don't have to be in a romantic sexual relationship with those men to help heal them. You can heal them just from a conversation. You can meet up with them for coffee and just give them some codes that will help them on their journey. I do this all the time with my platonic male friends. I don't need to have sexual relations with them. That's misuse of your sacred, your sacred chalice, sis, because that's for your divine beloved. So, again, not to and there's no judgment here. Like if you have done that, or if you are in the process of doing that, you're in a situationship or a relationship that is not ultimately going to lead you there, that's fine. It's not to pass judgment on, because I've done that myself, but you don't have to keep doing that. And if you don't want to keep doing that, then, you want to meet your person and you want a relationship to ultimately work out for the long haul and really, really build something together that's going to help the world, you can have that. It's possible. So many of us are stepping into that timeline now. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to mention that, when I saw that they were going on their own journeys, I also went on my own journey as well and started connecting with nature. I was swimming in ravines. So water obviously represents the emotions. Yeah, so water represents the emotions. It also represents the sacral. So connecting to your emotional body, healing your emotional body, feeling your feelings and then releasing them, and also doing womb healing. That's the same thing essentially. Like that's where the seat of your emotions. So doing some womb healing, do some asanas that work on opening the hips. I love using essential oils, doing body massage, natural dance, yoni steaming. My course Reclaim Your Crown has got a whole lesson on sacral healing, and then we also work on the sacral area in all the other lessons as well. So there's a lot of healing that will happen in that course. Or you can work with me one-on-one, and I do a lot of clearing of the womb in my field work sessions with clients as well. And then we can also activate the crystalline womb, which basically makes you like magnetic. Like it's like an abundance template, because it will enhance your creativity. You'll start to be able to channel your creativity. That will be like your divine mission. And then also it makes you it clears reversals in your womb, and makes your womb pristine, so you don't feel inclined to share that sexual energy with somebody that isn't in like absolute devotion and reverence to you. And then it also makes you magnetic to abundance as well. Like, so clients will start coming in, and whatever other projects that you've got going on, you'll start like manifesting abundance. Every time I've activated and strengthened my crystalline womb, it's I've seen a lot of movement very shortly afterwards. And also I played with the baby hippo and narrowly avoided being caught and attacked by the mama hippo. I wonder what that means. Let me just look up Dream symbol hippo. Reminding you, if you have become bored with your life, you have the creative power to stir things up and revitalize everything. You can start new projects, goals, and spiritual connections. You can choose the path that will be right for you to achieve them. You need to commit to your goals to fulfill them. Okay. Hippo, knowing what lies beneath the surface of any situation. I mean, we're already doing that with doing the dream decode. They see and speak the truth. That's me. Plus, they will also demand that others respect that truth. Folks with this spirit animal are highly intuitive. They act on their intuition without hesitation or questioning it. They're practical, balanced, and grounded. Hippo totem people will often submerge themselves in the creative mechanism without fear of the powerful emotions that surface in this process. So that's something interesting to take into the womb healing. They also have a secure connection to the spiritual, artistic, and healing realms of water, and therefore, like the jay, are highly creative. Often people with this power animal are susceptible to sun-related problems, including dehydration. Well, yeah, that's true, actually. But, yeah, it was interesting. Oh, it can represent emotional clearing. Ooh, okay. So that's also interesting, that there might have been some emotional clearing of this whole story. This story of like constantly healing the masculine and then having him move on and go on his hero's journey and become better for another woman. Like, you know, let me know in the comments if you've experienced this, because I know it can be really common with a lot of women. Yeah, and then clearing dark mother. Was there anything more that I wanted to say on clearing dark mother? Yeah, I've noticed also that something that's coming up in the collective around clearing the dark mother. So this is like a narcissistic feminine energy, a wounded feminine energy that becomes narcissistic and emotionally manipulative, and almost starts to become wounded masculine as well, toxic masculine. It has some of the same behaviors. Is Munchausen by proxy. That's something that's been coming up with some of my clients, and also I've noticed in the collective as well, a lot of, you know, women just taking their Munchausen by proxy to social media to try and get like social validation, likes, attention, that kind of thing, using their children in that type of way. We're kind of seeing that, and that's, you know, it's really damaging to engage in that kind of behavior. I don't know exactly where it comes from. I haven't mapped that particular program out. That's something I'm gonna have to meditate on. But yeah, if that's something that you have experienced, that you're also working on clearing, consider reaching out to me and we can kind of explore it in the field together. Because basically what happens in a session with me is we'll talk for like, you know, the first half of the session, you know, set some intentions for what we want to clear and what you're currently processing, and then we'll open up the quantum field. So I'll get into a trance state, and then I open up the client's field, and then I basically read what I see. And you know, the field communicates in symbols. So sometimes I see like implants that need to be removed that are causing clients to loop in trauma, or causing them to be plugged into, you know, frequency bandwidths or negative timelines. Sometimes I'll see that they're still corded or interfaced to a previous partner, or to an interfacing system sometimes I see that they're plugged into like an interfacing system in which their sexual or relational misery is being fed on by demonic forces, and that can happen either through like father wounding, sometimes mother wounding also, or like an abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship can cause that to kind of get implanted into. I've seen it mostly in the womb, but sometimes in the heart as well. So we clear all of that, and then we activate new templates and, you know, just beautiful things in the light body, you know, like the crystalline womb or other types of, you know, things that I've talked about, templates that I've talked about in previous videos. So what's happening with my sessions is, if you want to get so currently I've been offering like a single session for £150 and then a 5-session package for £500. That 5-session package is going to be going up. So I will give you guys a month from the date that this video is published to get grandfathered in at that price if you want to get that session package at that lower price, and then it's going to go up, I think, to like $650 or something. So yeah, and then I'm going to introduce a 10-session package as well, because what I've noticed is 5 sessions is great for like if you have a particular thing that you're working on and you want to experience a level up, but 10 sessions I've noticed, especially for somebody who's going through a lot, like let's say for example you're going through some kind of traumatic breakup, or you're really needing like some direction and purpose, you're going through like maybe a big career pivot or something like that, 10 sessions can be extremely powerful, and we can space them out over several months as well. Like sometimes, like, you know, usually I'll give a client 5 sessions, I'll give them like maybe 6 months to complete them, but we usually finish them, you know, we do them like once every 2 weeks. I would suggest, just to keep the momentum going. So, you know, you won't have to use, you know, all those sessions, like you don't have to do it every week. So yeah, so just reach out to me if that's something you're interested in. Send me a DM on Instagram, or if you're watching this on Facebook, you can also just DM me on Facebook. Just sometimes, on some occasions, sometimes people's messages have gone into like a hidden folder that's like filtered with spam. So if I don't reply to your message, within 24 hours or 48 at the most, send me a comment, like write a comment or something. And yeah, and let me know, because it might, your message might have gone into the hidden folder. I am going to optimize this whole system. The website's coming soon. Just bear with me though, because things do take a while when you're going through massive pivot like I've been going through, and many of you are going through as well. So, I actively need to listen to the spirit of the hippo, because I'm getting really dehydrated in this sun. I'm going to have to go inside in a minute. What else did I want to say? Okay, so I got a couple of questions in the Q&A, so I just want to answer those. As you are on the way asked, I love that you give recommendations in your videos. I found some new faves. Yeah, I can't do everything. I can't tell you everything. And like some of the people that I follow are like experts in what they do, so I can't remember all the details of everything that they've shared. So that's why I tell y'all to just go, you know, do your own research, follow these people. So your best tips to make your Dharma reality, important lessons you learn along the way. Honestly, I think doing the trauma healing will align you with your highest timeline the fastest. And, you know, the modalities that I found that were the best for aligning me quickly, I initiated into them because I found them so effective. So that's what, like, I recommend what I do. So the Kriya Yoga that I teach through Reclaim Your Crown, you can sign up for that in the link below. And then quantum field work, one-on-one quantum field work sessions with me. Also breath work, natural dance. All of these things will help you get, firstly, clear trauma from your body, so you can listen to your body more, and listen to the voice of God starts coming in much more clearly. But it also clears out distortions and limiting beliefs that are preventing you from seeing your highest timeline, okay? Because for years I was just fucking around with, oh, maybe I should do acting, or maybe I should be a presenter, maybe I should do a sustainable clothing line. And y'all know I've been doing sustainable clothing line for God knows how long. And you know, I made so many excuses about why it was taking so long. I mean, some of them were really valid, okay, because I did want to do it very ethically and sustainably, and it was very, it's an amazing design what I came up with. It was just one product. It was like these biker jackets. And I've decided to shelve it for now. I might still come out with it in the future. Let me know if you guys want to see me come out with a clothing line in the future. But it's just, you can't do everything. And I'm a life path 5, so I want to do everything. I want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. I want to be everything. And I've had to learn to just focus on 1 or 2 things at a time, you know. And the clothing line's just too much at the moment. But if you guys want to shop my wardrobe, I've opened a Depop shop, so that's a nice little creative outlet for me to kind of, you know, because I do like fashion and, you know, doing little photo shoots and things like that. It's very, very important for my mental health and my spiritual health to be creative. So yeah, and I'm just wanting to get rid of like most of my London clothes, because obviously I've just moved to Mexico, so I want to just have a very small capsule wardrobe. So I'm pretty much selling everything, and there'll be some like really, really good vintage that I'll be adding soon. Like it's like, obviously it's taking me some time because I'm not really focusing on it full time. But if you follow me on Depop, download Depop on your phone if you don't have it, because it's an amazing app if you like circular fashion. But yeah, I'll be adding some like vintage kimonos. I've got a bunch of like vintage wedding dresses. I've got like this stunning like 90s beaded couture gown that like I bought I think I bought it from a vintage boutique in Asia and used it for a few photo shoots. But you know, it doesn't really fit me anymore. And I've got like an Edwardian wedding dress that I'm also thinking of selling. So all of that is going to go in the Depop shop. So if you want to have a look, have a look. But yeah, in terms of you know, making your Dharma reality, just start tuning into your inner visions. Like, what do you see yourself doing? Are you seeing yourself on stage? Are you seeing yourself on film posters? Are you seeing yourself coming up with like some kind of scientific breakthrough that's going to like heal the world? Trust that. Start moving towards it every day. Start doing a little bit towards it. And the more you start to put more energy and focus you start to put towards that, the more it will start to become your reality, and you will be living it. But your imagination creates reality. I truly believe that. The more you imagine it, the more you'll start to do it, and the more you start to believe that it can be real, and then it will manifest in the physical. Like it just happens, you know, it unfolds so naturally. They also asked, Oracle Owen asked, who do you look up to? I look up to God. I look up to God. That's about it, really. I look up to Emily as well. Obviously, she's my mentor. I think she's incredibly gifted, incredibly powerful. I love how aligned she is to God and to the truth and to Christ, and how she will just fiercely defend the truth. She'll speak her truth even if, you know, it's not always popular, and I really respect that about her, because I could be like that as well. I obviously really love Mark Passio for the same reason. Yeah, okay, so as you are on the way, also asked the biggest themes the coming year, humanity and your vision to best show up approach. Okay, so I'm assuming that she's asking the biggest themes coming this year and how best to approach that. So I think that we're going to see the culture war intensify. Obviously, we're seeing that mostly come out of the US with this whole left-right polarization. And how best to approach that. Always understand that, you know, the control systems, even though I do think that some of the most nefarious elements of the cabal are being taken out, have been taken out already, some of them are still around. Some of them still have a lot of control and influence. Like Alex Collier has said, and a bunch of other people have said, like, it's do or die for them. They're literally like holding on for like this, their very survival, because once they're ejected from this planet, they have nowhere else to go. They will have nowhere else to go. Like, they will not, once there is disclosure about, you know, how these people have been operating and what they've been doing to stay in power, nobody's going to want a bar of them. So they literally have to throw everything at us. So, you know, there's obviously psyops with the culture war and polarizations. It's divide and conquer. So just try and, you know, connect to your heart as much as possible, and ask to be shown the truth all the time, and just try and be compassionate and empathetic to, you know, to all involved. Okay, like, obviously I always try and maintain a central neutral position, but it's difficult when you see crazy going on around you. Obviously during the pandemic I made a lot of enemies, and a lot of people thought I was not a very nice person because of the things that I was saying, but I didn't care, because I was like called by God to speak that. And what you've got to understand is a lot of the people that are coming out with whatever you think sounds crazy, they've been called to do that as well, even if it's not always the truth, okay? Because many of us have said things that turned out not to be true as well. So just be compassionate to each other, and just try and approach everybody as if they are a child of God, because everybody is, you know, even if you don't like what they're what they're putting out there, what they're saying. You know, there's a lot of nasty right now, and I don't like it. You know, I think that people need to bang their heads together and figure out how we're going to coexist on this planet, because, you know, we need to if we're going to survive. So I think also the US election is going to be really interesting. Obviously Trump's running again, and I think it's Trump, DeSantis. I don't know much about DeSantis, but I know that Robert F. Kennedy is also running for the Democrats, I believe, which is interesting. I don't really like the Democrats. I mean, I'm an anarchist. I'm not into voting in governments and shit like that. But I might suggest to my USAian loved ones that they might want to have a look at RFK's policies, because I do highly rate the guy. I really, you know, I do understand that he's working for the White Hats, and I do believe that the White Hats have their own agenda. And yes, I do think that they are doing some amazing things, you know, clearing out dumps and rescuing children and, you know, taking down trafficking rings, and they're the only people who can really do that. And that's so wonderful. Obviously, we should all be celebrating that that is happening. But at the same time, I do believe that they have their own agenda, and, you know, we need to be mindful of that going forward, because I do think that there will be more. I don't think we're going to see a psyop as big as what we just experienced, but we're going to see some more. Like, there will always be some deceptions on the ascension pathway, probably all the way back home, you know, like even when we're like pop out of this body and we're in the astrals or the causals, there'll probably be some fucking distortion. Like, can you imagine causal beings having fucking Twitter wars or whatever version they have in the causal realms? Just, oh, you believe this, well, you're an atheist, and oh, you believe that, and the causal beings that have come from the astral, it's just, yeah. But I think it will be interesting, because obviously if Trump runs against RFK, either way it's a white hat win. So that will be interesting. It will be very, very interesting. I think that the white hats have got this, and that they will, if they're not already in control. I know a lot of people say the white hats are fully in control. If the white hats are fully in control, I can assure you that they're definitely not the good guys, because there's been a lot of fucking bullshit that's been happening with them being in control. I don't believe that they're actually fully in control. But I think that we're going to see massive acceleration of the AI timeline and transhumanism. So that's obviously something that people need to be really mindful of. It's also one of the reasons why I haven't been on here too much recently, because I'm trying to spend as much time as I can in the physical real world, and connecting with community, I think, is going to be so critical for us this year. So I've established some really good links with people here, conscious community here in London, that, you know, I feel very, very plugged into the community here, and there's some amazing things happening here, and I'm very proud of everybody for kind of coming together over the last few years and getting organized. So my plan is also to do that in Mexico as well. We'll see how it goes over there. But yeah, that's it. That's all for now. I will love you and leave you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. Peace out. One love.